Hello, who's your fans, who's your haters, and everyone in between. This is the Crimson Coliseum podcast. On today's episode, we're just going to go over the game where Indiana just dominated Nebraska 56-7. And I'm sorry for the late upload. I was just getting home from Nashville just recently, so I just haven't had time to get everything set up. So that's the main reason. Sorry about that. But this was just an utter whooping. Just dominating all fronts from Indiana. It's what you love to see. To go over some Indiana stats, Curtis Rourke, 17 to 21, 189 yards, one touchdown and one interception. Also had two carries for 10 yards. And on the Omar Cooper pass, that was a really good ball heading into the Miles Price touchdown, his only touchdown. He suffered a thumb injury, which they don't know the timetable. And that's why they're saying indefinite. He's out indefinitely, but should be back by 2024 season before the season ends because they've got about 6 weeks now till the end of the season, including the bye week. So he's got time to heal up, but they just don't know when that injury is going to heal up because I think his nail came off of his own thumb. That was a weird injury, but his thumb has probably got to be screaming at him. So we got to see how he's able to hold the football, and that'll probably be a daily thing in practice. But Taven Jackson came in relief and actually did pretty well. 7 of 8, 91 yards and two touchdowns, along with two carries for 21 yards. Could have had more, maybe even a rushing touchdown if the holding call would have went a certain way. If they did get the holding call and Jackson was able to get into the end zone there. But the rush. Speaking of rushing touchdowns, Nebraska only allowed zero rushing touchdowns heading into this game, and Indiana had five. Justice Ellison, 9 carries, 105 yards, and two touchdowns, along with two receptions, 16 yards. And Tyson Lawton, 8 carries, 64 yards, and a touchdown, along with one reception for 35 yards. I believe Elijah Green and Kalen Black had the other two rushing touchdowns. So all of the Ninja Turtles was able to get involved, which is good to see, which is something that has been very consistent for them. Just gonna make sure. Yeah, Elijah Green and Kalen Black all of them had touchdowns. Kalen Black four for 22, and Elijah Green 4 for 11 yards. Receiving wise, Elijah Surratt, 3 receptions, 65 yards and a touchdown. Waffle House has always been open and always will be. Miles Cross, 7 receptions, 65 yards, another 65 yards and a touchdown. And then Miles Price, 3 receptions, 23 yards and a touchdown. And one of Taven Jackson's two touchdowns was an absolute beauty to Surratt. Back shoulder, barely got his foot in. You just love to see that. And it's just something that gives me confidence going into next week that I think this offense is going to be fine with even with Taven Jackson playing at quarterback. I also forgot to mention Justice Ellison tried to do a quarter running back pass and got batted down before it got to Surratt. So, and that was I think before the back shoulder his touchdown too. So good. It was just really good offense. When you score 56 points, it's really good offense. Defensively, and that's another good part of the story. Aiden Fisher leading the way tackles wise, 11 tackles, 4 solo. D'Angelo Pond, 7 tackles, 6 solo, 1 tackle for loss. Jalen Walker, 6 tackles, 4 solo, 1 tackle for loss, and one key forced fumble. Talk about more of that later. Terry Jones Jr., 6 tackles, 4 solo, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss. And he came in for he had limited snaps, but he made the most of them. Sean Asbury, 4 tackles, 4 solo, 1 tackle for loss, and one interception. The first interception from this first turnover from the secondary all year. Mikal Kamara, 2 tackles, 1 solo, 1 tackle for loss, a sack, a forced fumble, and a fumble recovery. Basically, he had 1 tackle and then the sack that he caused a fumble and picked up the ball. He's going to be key this next game against Washington. James Carpenter, 3 tackles, 3 solo, and 2 tackles for loss. Jameer Johnson, 3 tackles, 3 solo, and one interception. And then Jacob Magnum Farrar with the fumble recovery on from Jalen Walker. And Elijah Hardy also came in with an interception. Just defensively, it was just crazy. And we'll go into more about how good this team was in the defense was in the red zone to only allow us 7 points. But we're doing good. We're doing good. And it's just something you love to see with Indiana is guys getting to the ball, not many missed tackles, and a lot of turnovers, which is something that hasn't happened this year where we've gotten a lot of turnovers. Going to Nebraska, Dylan Raiola did not have a good game. 28 of 44, 234 yards, three interceptions, and one fumble lost. And two of those picks, one to Asbury and the one to Jameer Johnson, was just what was it, JoJo? It was Joe. Yeah, it was Jameer. I keep confusing the two sometimes, but yeah, just the one to uh the one to Johnson. Terry Jones Jr. had a big play in creating pressure to force him to throw just a terrible ball. But Raiola did not look comfortable in this game, and it really showed. Rushing the ball, uh, Heinrich Harburg, the backup quarterback, led the way rushing wise. 5 carries for 32 yards. Jacob Barney Jr. had the sole touchdown on a little bit of a misdirect for 7 yards and his only carry, and then 7 carries, 16 yards, and a fumble lost for their leading rusher, Dante Dowdell, along with one reception for 4 yards. And that fumble is just probably what opened the floodgates for Indiana. And I'll keep delaying it, but I'll get into that when we talk about pros and cons. Receiving wise, there's really only two guys noteworthy. Thomas Fedone, the second, the tight end, 6 reception, 91 yards, was their best player receiving wise and rushing outside of the quarterback. And then Jalen Lloyd, 3 receptions for 36 yards. Yeah, it was a game where it was like Fedone had 91 yards and Lloyd was the second best with 36. Also, Jacob Barney had 8 receptions for 32 yards. So he was getting a lot in the passing game. Yeah, it's not much you could do if you're Nebraska there. That IU defense came alive, especially in that second half whenever Rourke went down, which is what you love to see. Complimentary defense. And speaking of defense for Nebraska, just some guys to note. Isaac Gifford led the way, 8 tackles, 5 solo. Sayer White, 6 tackles, 6 solo, one pass defense. Mikael Gaber, 4 tackles, 3 solo, one sack, 2 tackles for lost. And Malcolm Hartzog Jr., 3 tackles, 2 solo, one pass defense, and one interception. One interception on the Roar. That interception was a Rourke Hail Mary, which he didn't really get any close, and that might have been because of the thumb. He could have gotten there if he didn't have that thumb injury, which is something I just started thinking about. For Indiana, team stat wise, Indiana had only 63 plays, 30 passing, 33 rushing for 495 yards, 280 passing for 215 rushing. They lost 9 yards on kneel downs too, so basically 504 yards. They were 5 of 9 on third down, which is good for 55%, and then 1 of 2 on fourth down, which is good for 50%. Penalties, they had 4 penalties, 46 yards, and created 5 turnovers, 3 interceptions, and 2 fumbles. For Nebraska, they had 75 plays, 46 rushing, 46 passing, 29 rushing for 304 yards, 234 passing yards, 70 rushing yards. And if you don't count the sacks that Raiola had, I think it would be 81 yards. So the third down, they were 7 to 16 for 43.8 yards. They were 0 for 5 on fourth down and had 6 penalties for 47 yards. just an overall just whooping, just a butt whooping that you love to see on and a sold out crowd there for college for big noon kickoff. Just for some pros and cons. Pros wise, there's a lot to talk about. Offense was just humming, even when David came into the game for the second half, it just kept rolling. Secondary finally got some turnovers with those two interceptions, and honestly, Sean Asbury, beautiful read on the ball, read the quarterback, read Raiola's eyes the whole way, and just an easy interception. Defense definitely overall stepped up. Heading into this game, they allowed 11 touchdowns on 11 red zone attempts. Today, they allowed only one touchdown on four red zone attempts. And the rushing attack against a good rushing defense, who was third in the Big Ten, had 6.5 yards per carry. In the second half, three interceptions, one fumble in the second half, and there were a bunch of recruits in the stadium. I think there was close to like 80 or something for what I heard. Um, Big, and I don't know. I've heard conflicting reports that Julian Lewis was there, so I'm not for sure, and if he was there or not. But that first fumble, absolutely massive because that's a 4th and 1. It would have been a first and goal if he got it, and it looked like he would have gotten it if Jalen Walker didn't put his helmet on the ball and knocked it loose. So, and even if Amari Farrell did have a different forced fumble earlier that didn't get reviewed a couple plays earlier, and just this and going to cons, these are just nitpicks. On that touchdown drive, we had him in second and 20, second and 17, and they just kept picking him up, which it's a little nitpicky, but yeah, and the penalties just weren't great. Having four is better than what we've had in the past, and we've consistently been getting under five, which is what I love to see. But the refs just weren't great either with that. Like I think the pass interference during that touchdown drive should have been a holding, not pass interference, but or legal hand use of the hands. But that's just really nitpicking at the small details. But hopefully Rourke is okay and can be back for the Michigan State game or the Michigan game. I think Taven could do well for Washington and even Michigan State, but would absolutely love to have Rourke by Michigan. So for the players of the week for offense, I've got Justice Ellison. Juice did very very well today. Well, yesterday. Uh, Defensively, I've got two. Terry Jones Jr. because he played excellent in the added increased number of snaps that he played in, and Jalen Walker for that massive play. And in special teams, it's Nicholas Radicic again for 8 for extra points. And that's gonna be all for this. But I want to talk about just my experience because I was there for the alumni band, and that was absolutely fantastic. I couldn't have asked for a better group of people to be around, and I enjoyed every bit of it. Even waking up at 4:30 in the morning to walk over to 100 Hall. All the alumni were fantastic people to talk to. Getting to see all my friends again brought me so much joy, as the trombones would put it, and just seeing all the new freshmen or first years that were there, and seeing that just everything has been going great for the 100. Um, the show was awesome. Loved hearing it. Kokomo sounded great. The Stranger Things theme was cool. Parks and Rec. I never watched Parks and Rec, even though I should have. But I mean, the people that watched it really liked it. And if you haven't seen it, seen the show, Russell P. Yeah, Russell P. Harker, that YouTube channel has that show probably up by now. So make sure to go to watch that. Um, but yeah, just been a fantastic experience that weekend, and I am very, very happy to see that we've already got college football game day next week. I was surprised that it was next week, but since we beat Nebraska so badly, yeah. And also IU is now ranked ahead of Alabama, which is something you would I that I mean, first of all, of course it happens the year I leave, but Second of all, the heck. Ethan Schneider, you are the lucky person being here a fifth year for this. Calling him out, but yeah, this has been a very, very good season. 7-0, 4-0 conference play. The only other team that is has that record in the Big Ten is the number one ranked team in the country. So, and Indiana's right on that doorstep of the playoff. If they can just survive these 2 weeks, get the wins against Washington and Michigan State, have work back by Michigan, who knows? The sky's the limit with this Hoosier team. But that's gonna be all for today. Thank you all for watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe on YouTube, share on all platforms, and I'm just gonna ask, is Pat McAfee ready for the Hoosier ready for upstairs? Because that's where he's gonna be on Friday.